Welcome to Wickerson Studios. This video you do not want to miss. What I've gotten into is actually making IronPython runtime Python functions, and I will be showing a series of those and be showing the outputs of what these functions can do. They're absolutely creative. I've written them as a parameter that leads up to a function. This is the add annotation text function, but it does some interesting geometries. This is the add cylinder function, IronPython runtime, Python function. This is the object decoration function. You may recognize where these are coming from, but I'll leave that up to you to do your homework and figure out where. Add background bitmap is amazing as well, but the one function I'm going to focus on is this one. The base functions are in here. They're very simple. You can find them online. They're there. What would you do with them if you started to make them parametric? It's not too hard to figure out. And here's an example of what you could build very quickly with a Python script with one little point, 2-point sliders, 0.0 and 0.1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and stop it. I'm going to take this geometry and I'm going to back it up because I did a little bit in Rhino. I'm just going to show my customizing of what was there. But what happens at this point is actually being backed up in the Grasshopper window. And as I go back here, actually I don't want to do that because I've got everything lined up. I will erase it and show you how I kind of built it. I have 2 points, and anytime I run this function, do anything to it, if I grab this point, I'm able to produce geometries. And that's really the power of this script. Bring it in here, pull it over, slide it back here, pull it out, X, Y, Z, just keep playing with it. You can adjust it, but you can also adjust it by changing the values of these values. So bring them down, change your Y, make sure you're in close enough that you're not moving the slider, you're actually moving the point. And the point is the relative to what's there, and then go back into your point for playing on the geometries, slide it in this way, pull out that form this way, and you're able to build some architectures in a way that probably you never have before. And when that's all said and done, say I pull that one in and jog this one out here, got a little alcove there. I can play a little bit more with this slider to roll this in, to bring this out. Let's pull it out this way, see what happens. And very simple, XYZ box kind of modern architecture styles. Bringing it up, there's a nice rooftop. It's a game, and it's literally a little tiny program in Python that will add a Brett box to what you're doing and bake it in. Now, when you're all said and done, and you like the general shape of what you've done, stop there. There's nothing to bake. I mean, there's nothing, but it's being baked automatic to the last Brett. But what you have is a collection of a lot of boxes. And I'm finding that the Boolean Union works very well on them. And after that works very well on them, you can leave Grasshopper for all it's worth. You've got a nice render. You've got a solid object. And at this point, I would select Edit, Surface Edit, grab some surfaces and start extruding them up. You get some fine details. You could rotate them. You could do other things. Select Surface Edit this one. Pull it out in this direction maybe. And so now you're getting some nice overhangs. And what's nice to do in the end, just a little surface edit here. I guess we could actually try to scale the whole thing down and see what that did. You can see it does some real magic to a few areas of it. It starts to kind of botch and twist and turn. If you get into any of that, maybe just jog back a step. I'm just going to jog back and go back to here. I didn't like what was happening there, but just select Edit here. Pull that one out. You get some nice little angles and corners. I've got a weird hole that's forming here, so I'm not going to want that one. But it's kind of touch and go, and you are sculpting a little more, but it's being stemmed from, and you can see that that's an odd thing that happened there and opened this box up, so I'm not going to want that. And this is actually not a closed Brep, so I must have done something that opened that up, and I'm not happy with that because I want to deal with a closed Brep for as long as I can, boundary representation, and then when I start to select Edit a surface and pull that one out, it should be okay. And what I then do as a tool, and I don't have too many angles in here or funky things, you could do it afterwards, but the best thing to do now is use the shell tool. And if I shell this whole object, and you could select the whole object and shell it, and say we wanted to open up this side right here as the side to open, it should be processed. It's hard to see what I'm actually typing in there because my name was there. Let's leave this for a second. Oops. Let's go back. Let me just try that again. Shell. and the faces you want to open from. Let's select this surface to be open. Let's select that surface to be open. Let's select this little flush surface to be open. And let's just open up this little front face there, that poly surface. Hit enter. It's already set at 0.1. And the results should open those all up, so you've got all your portals going in that you can start to explore the space. And I generally would never have built that and shelled that in Rhino, but I've generated from this simple Python node. Not the most exciting thing in the world. Select edit here, and now you start pulling up. You could scale that down if you wanted to. Start playing with these shapes in another way and have some fun. But it's a nice little tool for people to play with. I'm going to bring it up like that. I'm going to actually scale that one in. And you can see how you start getting some really cool geometries. And you've got a shelled form that you can walk in. You can see what's going on. Very nice. So that one's said and done. Just grab that one and park that one off to the side. And then jump back into your script. And it's not too hard to leave that and start generating another box. Just by playing around with these shapes, pull it up in the z-axis. You just got to have to think that way. You can also control the other point. You don't have to stay, well, this is the one, and I just erased everything, which is not hard to do. Now start to consider what would happen in this model if I actually started the Boolean different ones, like baked one shell and had this one still solid being cut out of the negative of this shape. So this is not so exciting form like the last one. Let me just come in here. I'm going to keep that one kind of tight to the center. I'm going to bring that one out to the side, and we get this funny little jogging section here. You can leave that. You can jump in here and grab this form. Obviously, I don't want to grab the other one. You can put it on hidden if you want to. Same thing, Boolean. It's just a fun little tool that I've made that allows you to do some Boolean unions. And you'll see a mesh is formed. And at that point, I'll take the object and I'll do my little shell, which I think is just a great program function that runs. I'm going to take this one and open it up there. I'm going to take this one and open up there. And just to see through the side, I think I'm okay with that. Hit enter. That'll open it up. And now I'm able to wander through my form, walk out that door, walk in that door, and produce some pretty cool geometries right off the bat. And still at this sake, I can do my select edit. I start pulling off my surfaces and having fun with other areas of it that are making more solids again. And who knows what's hidden in there if I was to do that. But you're ending up with some pretty cool architectural references. I'm not an architect. I did like sculpture for a long time, and I think I'm creating with a very simple node and simple Python script, which I'm actually not going to send you because I don't need to give everything away. That one's said and done. Let's take that and go File, Save As, and we'll pop that into a, I don't know, we'll call that the box morph architecture 001, and we'll just have that because I don't really do anything with 3DM files. And we'll jump in here and do a new file. Start it in, I guess, inches, whatever. Pull it back out here, pull it back into the render, but that function's ready to go. So what other things did I do? That was a brep, that was the base code, that's how you look at it, that's the outcome, that's what's running as a function. These tools can be made preview off, and those are your parameters. So this one's a little easier. This is actually just dealing with a brep map that whenever you do a slider, it's going to ask you, give me an image. So you got to go here and you got to find an image, which I don't know if I have. Let me just think. Screenshots. Oh, I don't even know where to go to find things anymore. Rhino files. Oh, I wouldn't even know where I have an object. Anyway. Let's assume I have an object. Oh, what should I look at? Just my desktop. Oh, I don't know. I give up. You basically grab a brep and then it pulls in and it pops in a background bitmap. A simple little running function that will run there. Actually, it's not the most simple one, but you can get it off of Rhino.com, Rhino Common or Rhino Developer. The other one, which we'll play with here, is a object decoration script. So what it does is it generates a script that runs that function. And I've dispatched a couple of points from a box. So whenever I'm setting my seed, you'll see what happens here. And hopefully it's set at the right side. What happens is it produces a line and throws arrows at the end of it. So I've got a box that will take 2 points and basically play with geometries between that. I can change the size of the box. I can make it larger. I can make it a lot smaller. And I can do the same, because it's baking in this function as we go. I can do the same thing through a C to make this big cluster of lines and points and decorated functions. And that's basically what it does. It has a 2 count on it, which dispatches 2 points to that function of an object decoration. Pretty simple. Once again, you can find those files online. You can find those on Rhino developers, so play around with them. This one's a little more intricate, and it is a tool that is an add annotation. So it basically, if I go into it, it has a line as I start to slide. We'll see what happens. I've got this object that happens to be a cylinder, and it will produce through rotations, because I have snaps on here. Unless I go real slow, I could actually pull them, and I pop in one that I didn't want there. I can discard that one. It makes pretty cool geometry. Well, what happens when I take that geometry and send it in another direction and run it through a rotation in the Z? That one just spun around in circles and generated a whole bunch. And I think the X is the one I actually wanted, because when I send that through a rotation, I might have to do a little fudging here. X, Y, Z. I didn't get my X in there. Let's try that. And there we go. I can pull it out this way and do the same rotation all the way around like that. So I'm generating these forms from very simple Python scripts. All I had to do is produce as a plane, a radius, a height, and a center point. And all those are changeable by what I do. So if I change that, let's pull out and see what's actually being cooked when I do that. I'm cooking a bunch of geometries like this in this direction, which is really nice. And then I can play with it off in the Y direction. You'll get this kind of weird pipe organ look. Pull it back off in my Z direction down. Then I'll pull my Y, maybe my X direction down to here. I'll pull my Y direction back up to there. And I should be able to pull my Z direction back up into there. And I've made this strange little step pyramid. Not pyramid, just this step kind of structure. And of course, I can throw that through a rotation if I want to play with geometries. I can change the axis on those directions and rotate them around the other way. And I certainly can play with the radius of that form. So if I played with that and maybe sent this back in another way, and we'll delete a bunch. I didn't mean to do that. Wow, just shrunk my page. Oops. Let me go back to Viewport. Viewport Layout. Should be able to do that. Oh, I'd never done that before in Rhino. That's kind of a pain in the ass. Here we go. Pull that back down. There we go. So you could look at this in all different views. I'm just going to delete a bunch, because what it is it's kind of like an Etch-a-Sketch, a three-dimensional Etch-a-Sketch, if you understand. So there's your little diameter. There's your other one. You can pull that around in radius. You can slide that one around again down. You can change it on the angle out here. And you've got these little machine tools for playing around and building geometries using the baked-in Python scripts that come from Rhino development. And all I've done is customize them so they'll actually go into the window in Rhino. Fun little exercise. As we continue right along, this is one that I'm going to get my assistant doing. It's an Annotate. Basically, it's a script that pops your name into a certain location, and all it needs is a point, a text, a height, a font, and a plane where it needs to go. So if I start playing on here, and Devil Dante will be my new assistant, and Helvetica, I will run this through. That just made a big mess because it basically bakes as it slides, but I'm cooking in Devil Dante as we go. So if I pop this in here, I can stagger Devil Dante out in this direction. And I only think of letters as just closed curves. So really, you're just dealing in surfaces. So pull it up on this angle. Actually, I pulled it out flat. I could pull it back down in this direction, which wasn't very exciting because I didn't do any Z activity before that. I should have done that before and then thrown that back into Z. And you start building these things from just words alone. And what I did in here was throw in a little bit of a rotation in case I want to change the rotation and play off the geometries. And for the graphic design artist, I am a sculptor, but you have to think a little sculpturally with what you do, and that just threw it around in this direction. And I, of course, have my font sizes, and if you want to just enlarge it quickly without having it run through every iteration, there you go. You have your big font, and you can take it through that rotation again all the way around. So it's wonderful to build a world and start thinking of these Python nodes as the output. So the Python script is actually the output. I'm not even pulling any geometries out of here. I'm just pulling the fact that I'm running a function out of them. And I'm going to do this for the entire, if you doubt me, I'm going to do it for the entire Rhino development site. So thank you, Steve Bear. You're giving me tons and tons of work on here, simply going into samples, going into my Rhino Common samples, and going down this list, which I've done once before, but now I'm dealing in functions. I'm not dealing in scripting every single time. So I can grab a mesh box, go in here and take this script. And look at that. Steve Bear hasn't even converted that mesh box over to Python for me. And I don't know how to write C programming yet, which isn't too hard to make a jump back to out of Python. So that will be a challenge for me to try and do some C#. And of course, I wouldn't be pulling it into, I'm not going to be pulling it into a Python node. I'm going to be pulling that into a C# node. So I really am into development, excuse me, and creatively trying to find out what's happening here. Let's just jump back into that little render, which was kind of fun, and show that last one again. We'll delete this and just jump into here and start building that box again from this point. I just think it's fantastic that I can actually make my geometries, play with them this way, play with them up, change the size of that. I want to keep an eye on where that other one is. This will be a smaller box coming up now. You start to figure it out. You make it a little smaller in this direction, pull it up again, step it up, and you literally are having fun making whatever's in here. I'm going to pull this one all the way down, see what's there. There's a little strut on the bottom. And pretty cool tool. And mind you, this is just XYZ. This is not even like fancy footwork in any way, shape, or form. What's nice is you can just jump in here with a surface edit, as long as you grab the right one, pull that one out while you're going. So you can work half in your sliders in Grasshopper while you're playing around in your Rhino window and it's updating. I mean, I don't know that I've seen anybody doing such foolishness as this, and I am just loving it. For me to build geometries like this, build solid geometries, I'm no fancy famous architect in any light, but I have done some castings through the Zaner company for Stephen Hall that's handed me these models that quite honestly are not, the model I'm receiving is not prepared and ready to go into a casting or a 3D print. They're open forums. My assistant at the time, Joseph Salas, can attest to this. If I go in here and do a Boolean Union, it was never this easy to grab all of his forms, throw it into a Boolean Union, and then have a few openings to get the shell in so I can pour my metal into it. I mean, these tools are just outstanding. So I'm going to grab that face, which is going to open up. I'm going to open up this bottom face for fun, and I'm going to open up this face so I can see through. Actually, I'm not going to open up that face. I'm going to open up this little face. I'm going to hit enter. That's going to hollow right out and be an extremely experimental kind of building to wander through and look through. And yeah, Stephen Hall hasn't got anything on me, except he's got a lot more going for him. That's it. Nice, simple scripts right out of Rhino development. You can build these forms. You can build architecturally. Who wants Wickerson Studios developing creatively for them? I'm hard into the research. I'm hard into the development on my own right. And I am playing. I can change these within the script, which I'm not really showing you. I can jump in here and make all the alterations in there, but I pared the scripts down so much that I can pull them out and make them parametric with Grasshopper. And I can still interface and have a lot of fun with very simple commands in Rhino. I'll throw it on a little bit of snazzy here. Let's do a rendered surface zebra EMAP with some beautiful colors. And let's put it on a turntable to finish. And give me a call, sign up for my websites, like what I'm doing. I'm almost at 1,000 viewers. Start watching my videos longer, and maybe I can make a living at this. I'm absolutely thrilled. And what a great day in the studio today. Just playing around a little bit with Python. It's just, it empowers you. You just take another step up on a plateau, and you get there, and you're embarrassed to show people what you're doing because it's so basic to that plateau you've hit. So the people that are already there are saying, look at this noob. But it's like, you look back at the plateaus you've already been at, and you've gained experience on that. You're just assuming you know how to do those things, like interface with Rhino and interface with Grasshopper, and certainly know how to build and make things. This is not structurally sound in any capacity, but it is design. It is the creative aspect of it. So 20 minutes nearly.